Hey there, congrats on reaching this massive milestone. You're officially an attending. Remember all those late nights in residency?
Oh, yeah.
We'll get ready for a whole new set of exciting and sometimes daunting experiences as you navigate this next chapter. We're going to take a deep dive into what it really means to thrive as a new attending and how you can not only survive, but truly rock this next phase of your medical career.
It's definitely a huge transition going from resident to attending. And it's not just about seeing more patients or handling tougher cases, it's a complete shift in mindset, responsibility, and even how you interact with the entire healthcare system.
Right, it's like leveling up in a video game.
Right.
But instead of just gaining more skills, you're suddenly the one everyone is looking to for guidance and leadership. Let's start with that mindset shift, because I think that's something a lot of new attendings struggle with.
You hit the nail on the head. As a resident, you're constantly learning and seeking guidance from senior physicians. But as an attending, the tables turn. You're the one making the final calls, taking ultimate responsibility for patient care, and guiding a whole team. It can feel pretty overwhelming at first.
Absolutely. So how do you go from feeling like you're still learning the ropes to confidently leading a team and making those tough decisions?
It's a process, and it doesn't happen overnight. You have to find that sweet spot between trusting your clinical judgment, which you've honed over years of training, and having the humility to recognize when you need to consult with colleagues, specialists, or even those trusty medical guidelines. Remember, lifelong learning is key in medicine, and that doesn't stop when you become an attending.
It's like that saying, the more you know, the more you realize you don't know.
Exactly. And embracing that mindset will not only make you a better doctor, but it will also earn you the respect of your colleagues and team members.
Speaking of teams, let's talk about leadership, because that's a huge part of being an attending cure. Suddenly, you're not just responsible for your patients, you're also guiding a team of nurses, residents, pharmacists, and other healthcare professionals. How do you make that transition from teammate to team captain?
That's where those leadership workshops and communication skills you may have brushed aside in residency really come in handy. Leading effectively isn't about barking orders or micromanaging. It's about fostering a collaborative environment where everyone feels valued and heard, and where you can work together to provide the best possible care for your patients.
Okay, so let's get practical here. Let's say you're faced with a situation where a nurse and a resident are clashing over a patient's treatment plan. How do you, as the attending, step in and resolve that conflict effectively?
First and foremost, you need to actively listen to both sides. Understand their perspectives, their concerns, and what they're each hoping to achieve. Then instead of imposing your own solution, try to facilitate a discussion where they can work together to find a solution that benefits the patient and respects everyone's professional expertise.
That sounds great in theory, but I imagine it can be tough to stay neutral and mediate a conflict, especially when you might have your own opinion on the best course of action.
It definitely takes practice.
Yeah.
And there will be times when you need to make the final call, especially if patient safety is at stake. But fostering that culture of open communication and collaboration will go a long way in preventing and resolving conflicts effectively. And remember, regular team meetings or huddles can be incredibly helpful in keeping everyone on the same page and addressing any potential issues before they escalate.
All right, so we've talked about the mindset shift and the leadership aspects of becoming an attending. But let's be real, there's another big elephant in the room that we need to address: the financial side of things.
Yes. The transition from resident stipends to attending salaries. It can feel like you've hit the jackpot, but it's also crucial to be smart about managing your newfound financial resources.
And it's not just about the bigger paycheck, right? You're also dealing with contracts, benefits, malpractice insurance, and potentially even student loans. It can be a whole new world to navigate.
You're absolutely right. One of the first things you'll encounter is negotiating your employment contract. And let me tell you, those contracts can be lengthy and filled with legal jargon.
So what's the best way for a new attending to approach contract negotiations? Do you need a lawyer for that?
Well, it's definitely wise to consult with both a lawyer and a financial advisor who specialize in physician contracts. They can help you understand the nuances of the agreement, make sure your interests are protected, and negotiate the best possible terms for your compensation, benefits, and work-life balance.
That makes sense. What are some specific things new attendings should look out for in their contracts?
Great question. Make sure you fully understand your base salary, any potential bonus structures, and how your compensation might change over time. Pay close attention to benefits like health insurance, retirement plans, and paid time off.
And of course, malpractice insurance is a big one, especially as your liability increases as an attending.
You're right. Make sure you have adequate coverage and understand what your policy covers and what it doesn't.
So it's not just about celebrating that salary bump. It's about being financially savvy and setting yourself up for long-term success. Now, I know we're just scratching the surface here, but What are some other financial considerations new attendings should keep in mind?
Well, remember that salary bump often comes with increased expenses. You might be paying back student loans, covering licensing fees, and potentially even investing in continuing education or professional development opportunities.
It's like a whole new budget to manage.
Yeah,
Maybe those personal finance courses weren't such a bad idea after all.
exactly. Creating a realistic budget that accounts for your increased income and expenses is crucial. And don't forget about long-term financial goals like saving for retirement or even investing in your own practice one day.
All right, we've covered a lot of ground here, from the mindset shift to leadership challenges and financial planning. But becoming an attending is about more than just the professional side of things, right?
Absolutely. Navigating this transition also involves finding a way to maintain your personal life, your well-being, and even your sanity amidst all the demands of being a physician.
And that brings us perfectly to our next topic, work-life balance.
Which, let's be honest, can feel like a mythical creature, especially in the early years of being an attending.
You mean those dreams of unlimited free time after residency might be a bit of an illusion?
Let's just say it takes a bit more effort and strategy to create that balance when you're juggling clinical responsibilities, administrative duties, leadership roles, and potentially even family life. It's definitely a challenge, but it's not impossible. One of the biggest hurdles new attendings face is the misconception that life will magically become less demanding after residency.
Right, like you've conquered the mountain of training and now you're just coasting along, sipping lemonade on a beach somewhere.
If only it were that simple. While those grueling on-call shifts and constant exams might be behind you, you're now stepping into a world with a whole new set of responsibilities and demands.
So what are some practical tips for creating a more balanced life as a new attending? Because I think that's something a lot of listeners are probably wondering about right now.
Well, one of the most valuable skills you can develop is the art of setting boundaries. You're going to be pulled in a million different directions: patient care, administrative tasks, committee meetings, teaching, and maybe even family commitments.
It's like everyone suddenly expects you to be available 24/7.
And it's easy to fall into the trap of saying yes to everything, especially when you're eager to prove yourself and establish your reputation.
But that's a recipe for burnout, isn't it?
Exactly. And that's why learning to say no gracefully is so important. You have to prioritize your time and energy and make sure you're not overcommitting yourself to the point where you're neglecting your own well-being or your personal life.
Okay, so how do you actually do that? How do you say no without feeling guilty or like you're letting people down?
It's a skill that takes practice, but it starts with recognizing your own limits and understanding that you can't be everything to everyone. When faced with a request, take a moment to assess whether it aligns with your priorities and whether you have the capacity to take it on without sacrificing your own well-being. And it's okay to be honest with people, right? You can explain that you're already stretched thin and that you need to prioritize certain commitments over others.
Absolutely. Most people are understanding, especially if you're transparent and upfront about your limitations. And remember, saying no to one thing often allows you to say yes to something else that might be more fulfilling or aligned with your goals.
That's a great point. It's not about shutting yourself off from opportunities. It's about making conscious choices that support your overall well-being and career aspirations.
Exactly. And don't underestimate the power of delegating tasks whenever possible. You don't have to do everything yourself.
Especially when you have a whole team at your disposal.
Right. Whether it's assigning tasks to residence nurses or administrative staff, delegating effectively can free up your time and energy to focus on the things that only you as the attending can handle. Speaking of things that only attendings can handle, let's talk about another challenge that I think a lot of new attendings face: imposter syndrome.
That nagging feeling that you're not really qualified or experienced enough to be in this position, even though you've successfully completed years of rigorous training.
Like you're just waiting for someone to expose you as a fraud, even though you're actually doing a great job.
It's incredibly common, especially in high-stakes professions like medicine. You've spent so long looking up to senior physicians and seeking their guidance that it can be hard to internalize the fact that you're now one of them.
So how do you overcome that feeling of imposter syndrome? Because it can be pretty debilitating, especially when you're already dealing with all the other pressures of being a new attending.
Well, first and foremost, it's important to recognize that you're not alone. Almost every new attending experiences some degree of imposter syndrome. It's a normal reaction to stepping into a role with increased responsibility and visibility.
So just knowing that it's a common experience can be reassuring in itself.
Absolutely. And it can be helpful to reframe your thinking about your accomplishments. Instead of focusing on your perceived shortcomings, remind yourself of all the hard work, dedication, and knowledge you've acquired over the years.
It's like giving yourself credit for all the steps you took to get to this point, rather than just fixating on the next mountain you have to climb.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to seek support from mentors or colleagues. Talking to other physicians who've been through this transition can provide valuable insights and reassurance.
It's like having a group of experienced guides who can help you navigate the trickier parts of the journey.
Right. And don't underestimate the power of peer support groups. Connecting with other new attendings who are going through similar experiences can create a sense of community and shared understanding.
It's like having a tribe of people who get it and who can offer encouragement and advice without judgment.
Exactly. And of course, self-care is crucial in combating imposter syndrome and preventing burnout.
It's easy to neglect your own well-being when you're so focused on caring for others.
But remember, you can't pour from an empty cup. Make sure you're prioritizing activities that nourish your mind, body, and spirit.
So that means things like getting enough sleep, eating healthy foods, exercising regularly, and making time for hobbies or activities that bring you joy.
Exactly. And don't underestimate the power of mindfulness or meditation practices. Taking a few minutes each day to simply be present and connect with your breath can do wonders for reducing stress and anxiety.
It's like hitting the pause button on the constant stream of thoughts and worries and giving your mind a chance to rest and recharge.
And remember, seeking professional help from a therapist or counselor is a sign of strength, not weakness. They can provide you with tools and strategies for managing stress, coping with imposter syndrome, and maintaining your emotional well-being throughout your career.
Okay, so we've talked about a lot of the challenges and potential pitfalls of the resident to attending transition. But let's not forget about the exciting opportunities and rewards that come with this next chapter.
Absolutely. Becoming an attending is a huge accomplishment, and it opens up a world of possibilities for professional growth leadership and making a real impact on the lives of your patients and colleagues.
It's like you've finally reached the point where you can put all your training and experience into practice and really start to shape your own career path.
Right. You have the autonomy to focus on the areas of medicine that you're most passionate about, whether it's clinical care, research, teaching, or even leadership and administration.
And you have the opportunity to mentor and guide the next generation of physicians, passing on your knowledge and experience to help them navigate their own journeys.
Mentorship is such a rewarding aspect of being an attending. It's a chance to give back to the profession and to help shape the future of medicine.
And let's not forget about the impact you can have in your patients' lives. As an attending, you have the expertise and authority to make a real difference in their health and well-being.
It's a privilege and a responsibility that shouldn't be taken lightly. And while there will be challenges and setbacks along the way, knowing that you're making a positive impact on the lives of others can be incredibly motivating and fulfilling.
So amidst all the busyness and demands of being a new attending, it's important to remember why you chose this path in the first place.
Exactly. Reconnecting with your why, that passion for medicine, the desire to help others, the intellectual stimulation of solving complex medical problems can be a powerful source of resilience and inspiration, especially when things get tough.
It's like that inner compass that guides you through the ups and downs of your career and reminds you of the bigger picture.
Right. And as you navigate this transition, remember that you're not alone. You have a wealth of knowledge, skills, and experience to draw upon. You have a community of colleagues who are there to support you. And you have the power within you to shape a career that is both successful and deeply meaningful.
So with all that said, what are some practical things new attendings can do to set themselves up for success in this next chapter?
That's a great question. One of the most valuable things you can do is identify mentors early on. Even though you're officially an attending now, having those experienced colleagues you can turn to for guidance and support is invaluable.
It's like having a seasoned trail guide when you're venturing into unfamiliar territory.
Exactly. They've been there, done that, and can offer insights and advice that you won't find in any textbook. And don't be afraid to be proactive about seeking out mentorship. Reach out to physicians you admire, those who embody the qualities you aspire to cultivate in your own career.
Makes sense. Now, before you jump headfirst into this new role, it's also crucial to clarify your job expectations.
Absolutely. Sit down with your department head or supervisor and review your job description in detail. Make sure you're both on the same page about what's expected of you in terms of clinical responsibilities, administrative duties, teaching commitments, and even research or leadership opportunities.
It's like setting the ground rules for a game to make sure everyone knows how to play and what the goals are.
Exactly. And it's also worth exploring the possibility of a gradual onboarding process, if that's an option in your department.
Oh, that sounds nice. Like a soft landing instead of being thrown right into the deep end.
Exactly. See if you can negotiate a phased start where you gradually increase your patient load or responsibilities over the first few weeks or months. This can give you time to acclimate to the new environment, get to know your colleagues, and build your confidence before taking on the full weight of being an attending.
That sounds much less overwhelming than hitting the ground running at full speed.
Definitely. And while you're settling in, don't underestimate the power of professional networks.
Those are so important, especially when you're starting a new role and need to build connections and tap into resources.
Right. Organizations like the American Medical Association or specialty-specific societies often have sections or groups specifically for early career physicians.
Those can be gold mines for networking opportunities, mentorship programs, and resources tailored to the unique needs of new attendings.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to reach out to colleagues in other departments or even other hospitals. Networking can broaden your horizons, expose you to different perspectives, and open doors to collaborations or career opportunities that you might not have considered otherwise.
It's like expanding your map of the medical world and discovering all sorts of interesting paths and connections.
Exactly. And finally, amidst all the busyness and excitement of becoming an attending, take some time to reflect on your why.
That's such an important point. It's easy to get caught up in the day-to-day demands and lose sight of the bigger picture.
Exactly. But remembering why you chose this path in the first place, that passion for medicine, the desire to make a difference, the intellectual curiosity that drives you, can be a powerful source of motivation and resilience, especially when you're facing challenges or feeling burnt out.
It's like recharging your batteries and reminding yourself of the purpose that fuels your work.
Exactly. So as you embark on this incredible journey from resident to attending, remember that you're not alone. You have a community of colleagues who understand the challenges and rewards of this profession. You have a wealth of knowledge and experience at your fingertips. And you have the power within you to shape a career that is both successful and deeply meaningful.
Embrace the challenges, celebrate the victories, and never stop learning and growing. This is your time to shine.
We hope this deep dive has given you some valuable insights and practical tips to help you thrive as a new attending.
Remember, becoming an attending isn't just a destination, it's a new beginning. What excites you most about this next chapter?
And what steps will you take to make it a success?
We'd love to hear your thoughts. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep making a difference.